If I told you that you could replace your entire set of dumbbells, kettlebells, and probably a list of other accessories in your home gym with just a single item that costs less than any pair of adjustable dumbbells I've ever seen, would you believe me? I first got my hands on the Powerbells at last year's Home Gym Con. I was immediately drawn to them. I loved how simple and versatile they were. And in the last year, they have gone through a lot of iterations and improvements. Sturdier hooks, handles that actually rotate with you and feel right, and padding that is just pristine. Today's Powerbell is the ultimate version, and I'm so excited for how much versatility and functionality this could bring to your home gym. When I first started, I got a butt ton of 1-inch standard plates that I would use on some adjustable dumbbells that had some clips on them or screws. That was all well and great, but that's a whole other set of plates that I had to acquire just to have some dumbbell work. And then on top of that, I had to buy some adjustable kettlebells as well to use with those plates. Now, I got a lot of use out of those. They were very versatile. But having a device like the Powerbells would have been amazing. A single device that could at least replace 3 separate sets of tools in your home gym, all for a price that I can't see beating. The Powerbells are a dumbbell and kettlebell hybrid. They use an Olympic sleeve to use the existing plates that you have in your gym already to do your pressing and pulling movement. But these are not just some toy or gimmick. This is an actually useful tool that is as sturdy as it is versatile and useful. But does it feel like a real dumbbell? Does it swing like a real kettlebell? Can you really replace both of those things with the Powerbells? And is this actually worth your money? We're going to answer all those questions today as we review my use of the Powerbells over the last 90 days. I'm BJ from the Iron Clinic, and this incredibly engineered piece of equipment are the Powerbells. So let's just start with what actually is a Powerbell. It's an Olympic sleeved item that has a swiveling handle on it. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but you can load your Olympic plates that you already have for your barbells in your gym onto them, put the unique and specially designed collar onto it, and then you've got something that just works and functions as a dumbbell or a kettlebell. It really doesn't belong in one category because it sits right in the middle. And I already know what you're saying. You know, if it's really doing 2 different things, is it really good at either one of them? Well, yeah, it is actually. That's what made me fall in love with these things. Especially once you put those included hooks on there and connect it to your barbell to get a good lift off for your pressing movements. As someone who trains solo in their home gym, it's an invaluable addition. Everything you need just comes with these. You get 2 Powerbells, 2 collars that are very reminiscent of a lockjaw collar, but feature specially designed pins to truly lock that weight onto the sleeve. 2 hooks to fit onto a barbell or a rack or whatever else you may be able to get them onto. And of course, the forearm straps. There's nothing proprietary about these things. You're going to use exactly what you own already, whether they're bumper plates, iron plates, or even connecting it up to your cable stack. Think of it truly as a handle system that allows you to use your weight in a plethora of different ways. So we've got these big beauties, and they are beefy and heavy and thick. These were built in collaboration with Weighted Out, and you know just from that name alone that this wasn't skimped on. I think that name tells you that these things are not cheaply made or just thrown together, but truly engineered. It is solid, it is heavy, and the heaviness gives you confidence. Now, with all of that, we've got this beautiful foam pad on the back. You're probably wondering what it's for, and that's one of the things I love about this thing. You see, as you slip your hand through it, when you're doing some of your movements, you've got this incredibly stabilized platform to now rest your forearm onto. I was amazed at how much this changed some of these movements. We've seen other attachments come out that try to stabilize itself onto your forearm. And that really does help a lot by eliminating that wrist flexion with that movement. The Powerbell has that built into both of these handles, and you could choose to use it or not use it. I have found it great for things like pec flies and making it a little bit more stable on things like my bench press or my overhead press. But at the same time, you can remove that strap from your forearm and let your hand just sit on that rotating handle, and now you've got a device that's fighting you with a little bit of instability. That instability is good for your training. It's going to activate all those secondary accessory muscles that are going to help in making sure that you perform that lift not only effectively, but as stable as possible. And this swivel on the handle is smooth, man. There's no binding, there's nothing. It spins freely. That matters a lot, especially when you're not using that strap. But even more so when you're doing things like kettlebell movements. You want that handle to rotate freely. The rubber bumps on the front here are a point that I really love. It's gonna make sure that your weight plates aren't just clanking onto that metal and scratching each other up. you know this thing's gonna last a long time. Now, the official weight limit on this thing is 100 pounds. And if you're using 25-pound plates, it's probably the best plate to use on these because they're gonna give you the most range of motion, but also still allow you to load this thing up to 100 pounds. Now, with that said, you absolutely can load your 45-pound plates onto this. Of course, you may run into some issues with how much you can load up onto there, and it may impede your range of motion on specific exercises, but not all of them. But Brian over at Weight It Out made a video showing him loading up one of these things with 225 pounds of his thumper plates. Those are his world's thinnest bumper plates. You gotta go check them out if you've never seen them before. But seriously, he loaded 225 pounds on this thing and picked it up without any issue whatsoever. Now, would you go throwing that thing around and slamming it on the ground? I don't know, I'd be a little bit worried about that. But just knowing that you could load this thing up to 225 pounds really inspires some confidence in knowing that no matter how much weight you load onto this thing, realistically, you're gonna be safe. And then there's these collars. I've personally been working with the team over at Powerbells to go through 4 or 5 different iterations of these. This is truly a unique piece of equipment. It's got that pin at the top that's gonna make sure that it locks perfectly onto the weight horn when you're using it. It's not gonna rotate, it's not gonna be able to slip off in any way. And the collar, like I said, is very reminiscent of the lockjaw collars. It's very secure. When it goes on there, that thing is not going anywhere. In fact, I've done plenty of lifts without that pin, and I've never had any issues with that weight sliding at all. But having that pin on there, especially when you're throwing weight around, that inspires extra confidence in knowing that you're gonna be safe and that this thing is not gonna fail you. So what can you actually do with this thing? Well, there's probably actually a really lengthy list of things you can do, and a super short list of things you can't do with it. You can do just about any dumbbell movement you can set your mind to. Presses, curls, lateral raises, you could even do your RDLs, rows, bench pressing. I really am struggling to think of any exercise that you couldn't realistically do with this. Are there some exercises that might be suboptimal? Sure. Things like your rows are not necessarily perfect, but when you compare it to what a regular adjustable dumbbell gives you, I think these give you just about the same range of motion and quality of workout. But truthfully, pressing movements is where this thing shines. You're just getting an amazing range of motion in a super simple to use and load package. And then chest flies on this thing really can be quite unique. You could of course lock your forearm into that and get some nice stable chest flies that feel fantastic. But you can also take yourself out of that strap and just let those things hang and rotate through that movement. It's really cool how this changes the overall feel of that movement. It's really just fun to experiment with it even mid-workout to see which one feels better at different moments. And truthfully, I don't have a favorite. It really just depends on what I feel like in the moment. It's a really cool ability to just be able to switch back and forth like that seamlessly. Now, as a kettlebell, you're gonna be able to do literally anything you can do with a regular kettlebell with these. There's literally no limit to what you could perform with this from a kettlebell-based movement. And the hooks are an incredible touch for this package. When you're doing dumbbell movements, especially as you start to get heavy, wouldn't it be nice if you could start that movement at the top of that, kind of like you do with your barbell benching when you're in your rack and lifting it off of J-hooks? Well, that's where this little guy comes in. These hooks slide directly onto the weight horn of the power bell. And this guy at the top here allows you to slide it onto your barbell that sits on your rack and have a super simple lift off for your pressing movement. Now, it does take some getting used to. Not just the lift off mechanism, but just the overall stability in using these things. It does not feel like a regular dumbbell, but once you get used to it, 2, 3, maybe 4 workouts, you really start to understand this thing and really appreciate how versatile it can be. But the way that weight sits is just different than a regular kettlebell or a dumbbell. So it is going to take a little bit of getting used to. This is really reminiscent of a not very talked about product called the Mad Spotter. I did a review on those a long time ago. Being able to start your pressing movements from a higher position, absolutely fantastic when you're training by yourself. And when you're done, you can re-rack it back onto that barbell or just put it back onto the ground. Now, one more key feature on these is this little hole down at the bottom. I gave some feedback to the team at Powerbells. I told them I wanted this hole to be a little bit bigger because whether they intended it or not, this is being used for cable accessory movement. That's right, you can clip this thing right up to your cable stack and do things like your curls, like your chest flies. It's really neat to have a device that straps directly to your wrist and allows you to do those movements. Lateral raises feel absolutely fantastic on this thing. But you're gonna run into some weird feelings. The attachment point is just at a kind of an awkward angle. It certainly feels different than the way you're used to these feeling with those standard cable movements. But still just knowing that it has that additional versatility, I think that just makes it an even more solid package. Now, as we already said, pulling movements are one of its weak spots. When that handle swivels and you're doing something like a row, it's not the best feeling in the world. Now, I can get over that, no problem. But one of the things you may not like is how that weight hangs off to the side. Really changes how that pulling movement feels for better or worse. It really depends on the user. The range of motion you get with these, it's comparable to a dumbbell. It's not that far off, but it is gonna be a little bit different. You are gonna be starting a little bit higher off the ground pound than your standard dumbbells. Now, if you've seen adjustable dumbbells that do use Olympic-sized plates, well, it's really not going to be any different than that from a range of motion perspective. But again, that weight hanging off to the side of you more instead of being centered on your hand is going to change how it feels overall. You could, of course, strap your wrist into that and get a little bit more stability, but it is still different at the end of the day. So what else is not to like about these things? Well, we already talked about pulling movements, so we're not going to linger on that one anymore. But I do want to talk about using thicker plates. If you're using your big plates, say your 45-pound plates or even your 35-pound plates or your bumper plates, you're going to run into space issues. Not just with how much you can load onto the horn, but also the range of motion that you're going to be able to feel. If you're doing, let's say, an overhead press movement, you're going to start feeling that weight plate hitting your shoulder or your arm. Now, you can hold it like this with the weight in front of you, and it's not going to impact you all that much. But I found when I held it like this, where my forearm is stabilized on that pad, the plates are sitting all the way at the back of this weight horn, and they're directly hitting the rear of my tricep, my rear delts, and my traps. You can get past it, it's not the end of the world, but you're going to find similar problems on your bench press too. I think this is something you can adapt to. Certainly not something that makes this an impasse or something that you shouldn't buy, but just know that if you intend to use your 45-pound plates, it's going to feel a little bit different than if you just stick to your 25-pounders. And now you're probably wondering, well, how many 25-pounders do I need? Well, like I said, you can fit 4 25-pound Olympic plates onto this thing. That's going to give you 100 pounds right there. Plenty of weight for most people, but perhaps you're one of those individuals who wants a little bit more. Well, then you may need to tap into your 35s or 25-pound plates. But if you don't have enough 25s already, you may need to buy some additional 25-pound plates to be able to get the most out of these. Next up, we talked about that cable attachment point. It's a nice little thing to advertise. It's not ideal, it's not perfect, and it certainly can be improved upon. But it does add some additional functionality, to be fair. It'd be great to see some additional attachment points around this. I don't even know how that would change that range of motion or the movements that you can do with it. But as it stands, that's a nice to have. It's certainly not something we need. But if you do go using it, it is going to feel a little bit different, and some of these movements are going to be impossible for you to do. You're just not going to be able to do effectively something like an overhead tricep press without worrying about banging this thing into your rack, into your head, or who knows what else. Now, my biggest complaint is going to be with the hooks themselves. But thankfully, this is an easy thing to fix, I believe. It's twofold. Number one, inside these hooks are UHMW tape. Thick UHMW tape. I would guess around 1/4 inch or so. It's on all 3 sides of this hook, and that means that when it goes onto your barbell, it's going to ensure that it doesn't scratch it up. Fantastic, right? Of course. However, when you load a bunch of weight onto that thing and it starts sliding on that barbell, it just tends to rip that tape off. I've replaced it no less than 4 times. And eventually I just went with some of the UHMW tape that I keep in the gym that's super duper thin. That stuff has stayed on there, no problem, and it's not scratching up any of my equipment, but the included UHMW tape that comes with these really just fell off within like the first couple uses, and again, every single time I would reattach it. I'd love to see that beefed up. I would love to see a much better implementation of that UHMW, and if they do this next change, I think they're gonna have the avenue to do it. Because the other thing that I want to see is a bigger hook. This fits perfectly on most of my Olympic barbells. It does not fit, however, on most Smith machines that I've tried it on, or any of the specialty barbells that I used. Now, why does that matter? Well, some of you may want to use something like this on a beater bar that you have in your gym. Some of you may want to attach it to your Smith machine because it's so easy to set up that Smith machine to the height that you want it without having to adjust a bunch of things like you would have to on your rack. But if you're trying to use a beater bar with this, it's not going to fit around it. For instance, I tried using my axle bar, never ever ever going to fit on that thing. And honestly, there's just not a lot of wiggle room within this hook. And if they opened it up more, I don't think we'd actually lose out on anything. If we curve off that top, it's still gonna sit on that barbell perfectly. And it'll allow that hook to be opened up more to allow more sizes of barbells to let this thing rest on. Now, even with those complaints, I still think this thing deserves a home in your home gym. You got one sleeve and you're gonna use all the plates you already have. That's a huge space saver. Most of you already have plates, so you're gonna be able to use this day one. And if you need some additional ones, well, it's certainly gonna be a lot less expensive than going out and buying a whole set of kettlebells or dumbbells or $600+ adjustable dumbbells. Now, on top of that, the thing I love about this, there's nothing to break. There's no dials, there's no pins, there's no little weak pieces of cable that are gonna just fall off after you drop it from 2 feet off the floor. No, these things are robust and sturdy. You just load the plates, put the collar on, and go. No tinkering, no worrying about small parts breaking. In this day and age, that really matters. And as robust as they are, they're easy to store. The hook comes off and you can throw these wherever you need them. And the power bell itself is not that big. There's plenty of places you could find storage for this in your home gym. And you're getting all this for $350. That's an awesome package. It's not cheap, it's not the cheapest thing we've ever seen, but for what you're getting with this, a kettlebell and a dumbbell replacement, that's a lot of value packed into this tiny little thing. So who exactly is the power bell for? Well, I think it's absolutely a necessity for anybody considering building out a home gym or adding dumbbells or kettlebells to their setup. I really think it would be a misstep to not consider adding the power bells to your repertoire. It's just going to expand so many of the capabilities that you're going to be able to do with your workouts the moment you get them. But if you already have a gym and you've already got it set up and you're just looking to get some dumbbells into your workouts, this is a very, very viable form to consider. You're going to get all the benefits of those adjustable dumbbells, but also have the kettlebell package there too. And just having those dumbbells adds so much possibility to how you can structure your workouts. And this is going to allow you to do it in a very lean package, using equipment you already own. And if you're just frustrated with the market for adjustable dumbbells and how flimsy some of them are, I think these are going to give you confidence in their build quality. You're going to be really happy with the structural integrity of these things. I mean, this hook is like literally more than a 1/4 inch thick. It's insane. Now, if you already have a full dumbbell set or you have adjustable dumbbells, probably not for you. If you don't own any weight plates, well, that may be a blocker for you because you're going to have to buy some weight plates. And if you're into really heavy pressing movements or really heavy pulling movements, these might not work that well for you. But their weight capacity far exceeds what I think most people are going to want to do with these. And again, seeing what Brian at Weighted Out did with it, I feel pretty confident knowing that that thing's going to be able to take whatever I throw at it. I want to thank Bill from Powerbells for sending these over. When we first interacted at Home Gym Con, I knew this was going to be something that I liked. I never imagined I would really fall in love with it as much as I have though. I have plenty of equipment in this gym and I still find myself reaching for these all the time. Perhaps it's the new and unique factor, but I genuinely like how they change the way that movement feels. And I just love how versatile they can be. It's been an absolute privilege to work with Bill and his team in helping refine these and also to bring this 90-day review to you all. I see myself using these for the foreseeable future and I'm sure you're going to see them in future content as well. But if you want to learn more about them, there is a link in the description to go check them out for yourself. Additionally, if you use code IRONCLINIC at checkout, you're going to save 5% off that order. And by doing so, you help support the channel. I really appreciate it. The growth we've seen this year has been fantastic and I owe it all to you. So hey, if you've made it this far, maybe drop a like or subscribe or leave a comment. It's really hard to describe how much that helps get these videos out to people like yourself who are interested in this. And by doing so helps this channel grow. Again, I cannot thank you enough for that kind of support. Thanks for being here, everybody. Keep being great, keep pushing forward, and keep getting better every day.